Here we are, video number 4, YouTube, at your service. Gunner Racing in the 917 Disassembly. So as these guys take these cars through the years, everybody does their 2 cents worth of a little adding here, a little adding there. Now, the car had fuel cells in it at one point, but then it evidently got backdated, not updated, with aluminum tanks. Now, there might be a fuel cell inside it. We haven't peered inside yet. But interesting enough, the spacing, there's a little bit of a rubber tire under here for spacing. And over here, we have a belt. So we don't know if it's a German belt or an English belt or an American belt, but we have something that someone used to hold the front of the tank up. Now, the tank sits in the side pod, but it has to be held up with something anyway. So this is one of the more interesting brackets that we've seen. So as we talk about this, Brett's going to be taking the oil tank out and he's going to take the suspension off. But come look at this with the side pods. You can see Brett took these off yesterday and you can see the red paint from maybe the beginning. We do believe that this car was red and yellow, i.e. the side pods being red. So here's just more signs of red paint. When the red was taken, we don't know yet. We'll do our little paint grinding trick and see how that comes out. But there's just some red, which leads us to believe, you know, more of the color deal. Now here, Brett has just now removed the tank, and you can look at the tank and see it's been altered in a few places through the years with these welds. So what they've done here we'll figure out later, but it appears that someone has done a little work on the tank. We've had many of these out. The number one thing is aerodynamically, this little handle for the oil tank, as the oil tank sits in this direction in the car, being forward, this should be like that. So again, this will identify this car in a picture because that is not correct, but it's correct to this car. So more really cool news about the oil tank. Now what we got going on next is Brett's going to take the suspension off. We go with the rear suspension first because it gets the axles out of the way, and then it's easier to take the transmission out rather than fight the axles. This is all original Porsche. The Girling brakes are all original. A lot of times they've been updated to the ATE. The shock has been altered because the 917 did not have a spin collar shock. It had spacers. So this is an update, which is a Bilstein shock, but it's still better than it was, but not original. So we'll make the decision if we go back to the original shock. But anyway, Brett will take all this hardware out and take the whole corner off in one fell swoop. We'll tune in again when Brett has the corner off so you can see it.
Go.
All right, we're back to taking the suspension off. Here Brett is about to pull it from the car. He's already undone the axle and all the titanium bolts. And with a little bit of wrestling and a little friendly persuasion there, got to pull the radius rods, the Heim joints out of the pickup points. You can see if this was a race predicament, it would be just like that's how it would go back in the car. You'd be prepared with all these goodies. Of course, there'd be 5 guys helping, but pretty much you can see the workings of a 917 corner, and that's all original stuff, as I said, except the shock absorber, and that can be changed. You can see how the axle here has a slip joint in it. Goes back and forth for the suspension going up and down, because you don't have a CV joint, you have a regular cross joint, which is actually a cross joint used from a tractor in Germany. But super heavy duty, titanium axle, aluminum radius rods, titanium rose joints or Heim joints, so it's super trick stuff. Brett will take the other side off. About that simple. All right, now Brett's working on the second corner now. Again, the bolts were already loose. It didn't just happen in 2 seconds. Brett's been here for about 2 hours, about an hour a corner, sliding all the hardware out. And he'll pull this thing free and just set it on the ground. And voila, 2 corners. Of course, that thing sitting right there is probably, if you bought it piece by piece, about $100,000 today, because you just can't go through those parts anymore. But anyway, we'll go to the front suspension in the next one. And just for the record, I'm not wearing a hat. No one's overnighted me a hat yet. So for Brett and I and everybody at Gunner Racing, we'll see you in the video 5.